Bienvenue. Les aventures de Frank et Ben. Troisième série. Frank and Ben go back to Perkins on a Greyhound bus. 14e histoire. Frank and Ben go back to Perkins. Part 14. The bus finally reaches the outskirts of Ottawa, and Frank and Ben, like everyone else who will soon be getting off, have their thoughts turning more and more to what they will be doing in the next few hours and the next few days. It's not easy to say all that the boys have on their minds, but some of the simplest and most immediate things are things like taking a shower as soon as they get home and sleeping for a few hours in their own beds, and then sometime afterwards having a good home-cooked meal. Frank says to Ben, "I don't know about you, but I'm going to crash as soon as I get home." "You said it," replies Ben. "It'll be good to sleep in our own beds finally." At the same moment, Geneviève looks over from her seat by the window and says to them, "How are you two doing? Are you anxious to get off the bus?" "Yes," says Ben. "No," says Frank. "We've been enjoying this trip so much we'd like to go all the way to the East Coast." "To the East Coast," shouts Ben. "Are you serious?" asks Geneviève. She stares at Frank for several seconds before realizing he is pulling her leg. "You big phony," she says to him. "You're as anxious to get off the bus as we are." Later he asks Geneviève and Minot, "Have you two got somebody to pick you up in Ottawa?" To his great surprise, Geneviève looks coldly at him and asks, "Whatever gave you the idea we're the type of women who allow themselves to be picked up?" Although taken aback for a second or two, Frank quickly regains his composure and laughs at this attempt to fool him by taking his question the wrong way and making him think he is somehow giving these two young women offense. However, when Geneviève continues to act as if she truly thought he was referring to something not quite appropriate, and when Minot doesn't even bother to look at him or say anything to show she isn't in agreement with her friend, he finally resigns himself, not without a certain amount of irritation, to spelling out exactly what he meant by this question. He tells the two young women he was only asking whether or not there would be somebody to meet them at the Ottawa bus terminal to give them a ride home. If not, he'd be happy to offer them one because his mother is coming to pick them up at the Ottawa terminal. He assures the two young women that there wouldn't be the slightest problem because besides always being ready to do whatever he asks, his mother is a super cool person. All of this and more he says to them, but no sooner has he finished than Geneviève and Minot launch into discussion about whether or not the term pickup is offensive. In no time at all, Frank is overwhelmed and thoroughly bewildered by what they are saying. Unable to raise any sort of objection apart from the one of not being able to understand either their feelings or their arguments, he starts to feel a bit discouraged. Ben, although every bit as confused by what the young women are saying as Frank, nonetheless is anxious to come to his defense. However, just as he is ready to do so, he sees something outside Geneviève's window that he thinks might be a UFO. Scrambling towards the other side of the bus to get a better look, he becomes totally immersed in this sighting, while Frank, who's not interested in anything except Genevieve's disapproval of him because of his use of the term pickup, which she continues to argue can be offensive depending on this and that, and whatever circumstances and events and compelling evidence show that a man is either intentionally or not promoting some stereotype that reflects on all womanhood and blames them for all the evil in the world. While she is arguing all this and more, Frank, despite Ben's noisy protest that there really is a UFO outside, notices a mischievous smile starting to play on her lips. And then, as if to confirm his worst fears that he has been duped by these two young women, Minot suddenly turns towards him and gives him a friendly wink.